Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great day. This is Kim Barnes Jefferson here, and I am the host of FabFit TV. I give women the courage to live a life that is free of doubts and rules so they can live a life of infinite possibilities. So today I was thinking about where we are in the year. So we're literally knocking on almost 90 days before the end of the year. And I know that so many of us like woke up on January 1st, 2018 and we're like, this is the year. And you came up with your word and you came up with your declarations, you came up with your intentions and all the good things. And here we be. And I have to ask, like, here's where you have to check in with yourself. Where are you? And we have enough time. I know there is a whole school of thought around, breaking your year into 90-day increments. So if you want to start believing that philosophy, now is a good time. We do have 90 days. We have, a few days before October 1st. I think October 1st is Monday. And we have the time to say, okay, what do I want to accomplish between now and the end of the year? And many people get stuck because they can't define what they want. And I was just on a phone call with my mentor, and we're laying out 2019, and she said, "Okay, Kim, here we are, 1 year from now. What do you want to be?" And that's that question that's like that sharp stick that just like pokes at you, that you're like, stop it, I don't want to think about that. And here's where I ask you, what do you want to be? What do you want to get in the next 90 days? And believe that it's possible, right? Well, I'm not going to tell you that, you're going to be a millionaire in the next 90 days. But I can tell you that a good majority of things can be accomplished in 90 days, right? So I want you to give yourself permission to go for it. Give yourself permission to say, you know what? I got this. Maybe it's you want to add a few more clients to your roster. Maybe you want to drop a few more pounds. Maybe you want to create some better routines. You have that time to do it. So I want you to trust your instincts, and I don't want you to shy away because you're not feeling motivated, you're not feeling strong enough, you're not feeling enough. I want you to say, you know what? If I were that person, what would I do? Right? If you were the person who was 10 pounds lighter, what would you be doing? Would you be buying Munchos at CVS? Or would you be going next door and getting a green smoothie? Would you be laying in bed when the alarm goes off at 6 a.m.? Or would you be like, I ain't got it, but I told myself I was going to get up 3 days a week and go work out, right? So I want you to start thinking about that, because we're wired to feel fear. It's, I always screw up the way to pronounce this. It's our reticular brain. Our reticular brain is the reptilian brain. And it's that old part of our brain that still exists that was huge when we were living in the caves. It was that part of the brain that sensed if we were going to be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, or if there was a famine coming. It was the brain, part of the brain that that honestly kept us evolving. It kept us going forward. So I want you to think about when I work with my clients, I always say to them, I take them through this framework, right? And it's like a 6 process framework, and it basically, takes you from what do you want to when you've actually achieved it, how do you keep it going? And so it starts around clarity. It's like, defining, and I always say this, and I've said it on this show multiple times. It's like when you get in your car and you punch into your GPS. I could easily just punch in Main Street, and it's going to take me on Main Street. let me use a better example. So here in Boston, we have a street called Mass Ave, and Mass Ave goes from Boston all the way out to Lexington. And that's a good, I'd say about a 10-mile stretch. So if I punched in Mass Ave, it could land me here, or it could land me 10 miles away in either direction. So I want you to think about when I'm clear and I punch in 1, 2, 3 Main Street, that's where I'm heading, that's where my intentions are set, and everything I do is guiding me to 1, 2, 3 Main Street. Now, I'm not saying there isn't going to be a detour. There might be construction ahead, and you might need to take a left and then get back on the road. That's what I'm saying. It's possible that could happen, and embrace it, right? Because so many people think success is linear. I start here and I go here, right? But success can look like that. It can be this curly cue of winding and twinding before you actually get to where you want to be. And be okay with that. And so as I walk you through the framework, I want you to, decide what you want. So that's clarity. Decide. Just put a stake in the ground and say, this is what I want. And the best analogy I've heard, and I just adore this, is that you can't drive a parked car. If my car is in park, no matter how hard I step on the gas, it ain't going anywhere. And it's just a matter of me putting my car into drive that'll get me going to where I want to go. So you have to decide, just like I said, I need to punch in the coordinates on my GPS, and I need to decide where I want to go. And that decision can be, it starts with the long range. So like by December 31st, 2016, my golly, December 31st, 2018, where do I want to be? And I want to get crystal clear on that. And so for me, I have a longer range vision. So in April, I'm going on vacation to Hawaii. So that's my end game for my goals is 2018, and I'm backing everything out from there. And so that as I'm making choices, I'm like, does this lead me to April 2019? And then the next step is, do I feel a connection to it? So, so many people will say they want to lose weight, get a new job, get a new partner, get. But do you feel connected to it? And, a lot of people will toss around the word, your why, right? And for a long time, I was just like, that just felt so like cliche, like get in touch with your why. And the more I thought about it, I have to connect my soul. It's kind of like my goal is plugged into my heart. My goal is, I feel so strongly about my goal and obtaining my goal that my heart's going to hurt if I don't get it. And that connection is what, on a rainy day gets you out of bed. On a snowy day gets you out of bed. Or when you're at that crossroads of like, if you're trying to lose weight and it's that bag of Munchos or having that green smoothie, you're going to flash up what your clear goal is, and you're going to say, you know what? I'm going for that green smoothie. And so many people, when we decide things, we're like in this frenzied state, like, oh my God, I'm going to Hawaii, I'm going to lose all this weight, I'm going to be the hottest person on the beach, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, right? So then, that motivation can last you a little bit. And then at some point, that motivation kind of is like, I want you to think about, if you ever had like a helium balloon, right? You get the helium balloon, it's nice and big and round. And then you keep it a few days. And just from the heat and the pressure, the balloons start to shrink a little bit. The balloons start to shrink a little bit. The balloons start to shrink a little bit. That's motivation, right? It's that what started as this big giant balloon starts to shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. And I want you to think about that, because motivation is that balloon. It's that great kickstart. You're pumped, you're psyched, you're doing all the things. And as soon as that like one roadblock, that one pothole happens, you might be on the sidelines being like, I got nothing. I'm done. So here's where, you know, you connect back to that why, right? You're like, I'm going to Hawaii. I can't imagine myself being on that beach and dreading being in a bathing suit. I can't imagine being on that beach and like trying to strategically cover up all of the things. I want to walk on that beach confidently, proudly, without worrying if I have a cover up or not. Without worrying, is my tushy too big? Without worrying, is my stomach flat enough? That's what I want. So I go back to that clarity. And then I'm like, all right, that's my why. And it brings me right back so that when, you know, the alarm clock goes off, it's snowing, it's raining, it's not the ideal day, you're like, girl, Hawaii's coming fast. And you get out of bed, right? So that's, you know, and those thoughts literally happen, you know, in a nanosecond, because it's like you just tap right in. Or some of the things I always tell my clients is that, you know, right next to my bed is a wall, and on my wall I have a picture of Hawaii, so that, you know, even with one eye open, I can look over, I can be like, yeah, that's my goal. Throw the covers off, Kim, and go. And so that re-energizes my motivation. The other thing I do when I feel like my motivation is starting to wane is that, you know, I will, you know, I'm a visual person, so I don't know if you're a visual or audio person, but like look at pictures and like just kind of see yourself in that particular situation that you want your end goal to be. Or if it's music, you know, maybe it's like you want to hear the music, want to hear the Hawaiian music, the ukuleles, whatever. But it's like physically recreating what the end zone is. You know, if you think about football players, right? Football players, they all they practice their end zone dance. Like, you know, don't tell me that all of their dances are totally like, hey, I got the ball in, and then they all of a sudden they're like, I gotta do a dance. No, they're practicing that. They're probably practicing it in the locker room. They're probably practicing it with their families. They probably have their own, like, you know, they're listening to the song in their head as they're walking into the building. They all have, you know, something that they're thinking. They all practice, you know. And if they tell you that they don't practice, they're full of hooey. So the next piece is like, you got to get creative, because let's be honest, you know, there's always going to be a roadblock. There's always going to be an obstacle. There's always going to be something, right? And if I know that there's always going to be something, and it's not me being a negative Nelly. No, not at all. It is me saying, you know, there is going to be an obstacle, and I have to decide how I'm going to go over, around, under, or through it. And I'm just being realistic. And, you know, I remember I was a meeting planner for a really long time, and I always had to think of, okay, if this doesn't arrive, what am I going to do? If that doesn't arrive, what am I going to do? If that speaker says no, who's going to be the next person on the list? So that I was always, I wasn't surprised, right? There were no surprises, or if there was a surprise, I'm like, okay, no panic. We got a plan B. So I want you to think about creative ways that you can achieve your goal, because sometimes people always do the same thing over and over again. So yo-yo dieters, right? They will go hard. They'll be like, all of these things I can't have. I got to take out everything out of my diet. I got to go to the gym every single day. I gotta. And they come up with this laundry list of all the things that I gotta. And then, just like they have in the past, they burn themselves out because they're trying to do 400 things at the same time. And it's not possible to do 400 things at the same time, no matter how hard you try. So, the lights are really bright in here today. So, you can't do 400 things no matter how hard you try. So, I challenge you to come up with creative ways. And be open to do things differently, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? So if you've tried dieting, and you've drastically cut calories, you've drastically increased your workouts, and it didn't work, you have to come up with another solution. And be open to having a conversation with someone who can help you, guide you. I think it was Jim Rohn, but I could be wrong. But he said success leaves clues. So what I've always done in my life is that anyone who has what I want to have, I always find ways to emulate them. It could be, something that you read in a book. It could be something that you actually physically know the person, or it could be you actually seek out a mentor. And so over the years, because that helps you shortcut things, you get things done a lot faster. And have the courage to, be vulnerable. Have the courage to say, you know what, I don't know. Or have the courage to say, you know what, I'm done banging my head against the wall, and I need to find a different path. And Tony Robbins, my boyfriend, he says the best way in life to get a better life is to ask better questions. And so it's really easy to get caught up in what's not working. It's really easy to get caught up in this is what I've always done, because we're afraid to make that change. And so I challenge you to have the courage to break up with the spiral and, go back to, how would you define your success? If I get back to where I'm clear, how am I going to define my success? How am I going to define my success for going to Hawaii? How am I going to develop a healthy approach to that's sustainable for me? Because so many people are like, oh, what do you think about the keto diet? What do you think about Whole30? What about I think about the Kim diet. I know that for me, there's certain elements that I like of them all, because I want it to work in my lifestyle. But I also know that there's certain elements of things that I do that I might have to change. So if you are someone who gets a little overwhelmed, I challenge you to focus on one thing. And so have the courage to focus on one thing. So if you get overwhelmed with working out, I challenge you just to focus on working out. If you're someone who gets overwhelmed with food, I challenge you even to focus on a meal, or focus on adding in more vegetables, or focus in on, maybe you have that, I call it the witching hour. We all have a witching hour that we just start to get snacky and we just start to reach for things. So, think about where you need courage. Write it down, because the more you're aware of your behaviors, the more you're able to change them, right? And I'm not saying change in a bad way. I'm just saying change it so that you don't feel trapped, that you don't feel like, oh, whenever I try to do this, it never works. I don't want that. I want you to start to have hope. I want you to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And think about the confidence, right? So when I come up with my creative ways, I want to have the confidence that I can do this, that I can take my present situation and I can change it, right? But you have to be honest about what your present situation is and what is possible for you in the moment. Because you might say to me, I always ask people, how many days can you commit to working out? And inevitably, everyone says, 6, 7 days. And I'm like, really? Can you give me 6 or 7 days? Or would 5 days be more palatable to you? Because if I say 5 days, if stuff happens, you got a 2-day buffer. If you say 4 days, I get a 3-day buffer, because, I remember when I was working in corporate, there'd always be the boss comes over to be like, this must get done by the end of the day, and you had planned to go to the 5:30 Zumba class. Or maybe you have kids and you plan to get up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym, and little Johnny didn't sleep, or little Johnny got sick. So, I always say, have those, be honest with yourself and see yourself winning, right? So many people don't see themselves winning. And I want you to see the victory, because when I see the victory, I start to feel the victory. And when I start to feel the victory, I want to keep that feeling. And I'm going to do whatever I can to keep that feeling. And know that, like I said, get creative about the speed bumps, because there are going to be speed bumps, but you're always chasing that feeling of winning. And I always challenge my clients to have small wins, because not every win you're going to step up and it's going to be, this home run, grand slam, the fans are cheering. It could just be you got up and you went to the gym 3 days this week. Yay, you. Find a reason to celebrate. And write out the plan. I'm a paper person. I write things out. There are studies that show that there's something about when you physically take pen to paper, that it just activates different pieces of your brain than when you're sitting, typing on a computer or punching it in on your phone. And when I'm really doing my strategic planning for my life, I sit down and I write it out. I'll even write myself letters. And I write myself a letter for three months from now, 6 months from now, and a year from now. And I write myself 3 letters around this time every year. I write myself a letter to say what I want to accomplish by the end of the year. And then I write myself a letter to say what I want to by 6 months in. So that's basically the end of this quarter, the first quarter of next year, what's going on with me, and then 1 year, what have I achieved. And I want you to think about it, and I want you to come up with like 1 to 3 things that will make you feel like a winner. And we'll stick with, and you can have it anything. It could be, maybe you want to get a new job, maybe you want to get a new relationship, maybe it's something health-wise, maybe it's something you want to plan a dream vacation, whatever it is. Write down 1 to 3 things, and I want you to like make them a little challenging, but I also want you to find something that's going to be an easy layup for you, that you can actually take the action. Because so many people like hope and pray and dream, but in order to get what you want, you got to move your feet, right? And trust me, I remember, this is probably like 5-6 years ago, watching the movie The Secret. And if you're not familiar with The Secret, it started as a book, now it's a movie, and it's all about the law of attraction, how your thoughts become things. And I totally believe that. And so when I first read it, I thought all I had to do was think about what I wanted, and presto changeo, it would land in my lapo. And not so much. So over the years, I've learned that it is stating what I want with conviction, believing that I can have it, but also taking the steps towards getting it. And so as I do that, it will show the universe that it's what I want. Because if I'm just sitting here being like it's like treating it like a genie, like, genie, I want this, it's not going to happen. And that's the way I treated it. So I want you to keep going no matter what. So, Hawaii is going to show up. It's here, right? It's here. It's just outside of the view, right? But I know that time moves so fast that I gotta keep taking the steps, because how many times have you said, I want this, and then the date happens and you haven't really done one thing? So I know I gotta keep reminding myself that it's coming and I gotta take the steps. It's coming, then I gotta take the steps. And so I want you to, I challenge you to, come up with what it is that you want. Come up with the creative ways that you're going to try to get it. And then I want you to have the confidence that you're going to get it. And, if this is something that sounds interesting to you and intriguing to you, this framework that I've walked you through, hit me up in an email. You can email me at squadleader@fabfitsquad.com, and we can talk about it. How this is going to work out for you, or you know what you need to do, or so forth. So let's have a conversation. But you can also find me on Facebook. You can find me at Kim Jefferson Coach. You can find me on oh my gosh, I can't speak tonight. You can find me on Instagram at Kim Jefferson Coach. And then you can also find my website at fabfitsquad.com. And so I enjoyed having our conversation today. And I will be back on October the 9th. And in that conversation, I'll be talking about the 5 reasons why people aren't hitting their goals. And I'm a huge goal setter. And so I really want to sit down and just kind of like talk about why people aren't hitting their goals, and ways that, so the reasons why they're